Hey everyone, Xander's here. The 20th anniversary of Pokemon is just 2 days away, and you know what? I'm excited. I mean, it's been 20 years since the release of the original games, Pokemon Red and Pokemon Green over in Japan. And you know what? It's hard to believe that something like that became such a big phenomenon. I mean, worldwide, Pokemon is really well recognized. In fact, Pikachu is pretty much on the same levels as Mario, Mickey Mouse, Bugs Bunny as some of the most recognizable characters in the world. So that's really something to be proud of as far as an accomplishment from a marketing standpoint, that you have a product that just spans the world. And it's still loved not only with children, but with adults that grew up with it, or even those that didn't grow up with it and discovered it late. Man, it's hard to believe it's been 20 years. God, I feel old. But yes, the 20th anniversary is upon us, and come Saturday, we will not only be seeing the re-release of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on the eShop, we will be seeing a lot of Pokemon content all over the internet, and I guess I'll be adding to that too because, you know, views. Now, I'm not here to strictly talk about the 20th anniversary. In fact, I'm here to talk about something slightly different that takes place a day before. The Pokemon Direct. Now, Sandros, I'm sure you're asking yourself, what's a Direct? Well, Nintendo a few years ago decided to make a change in how they did conferences when relaying information to the populace. Instead of doing physical appearances at places like E3, they decided to still do their booths there to advertise their games, but as far as their actual conferences, they went for a more digital idea and decided to start doing pre-recorded videos that they would then present to the public as Nintendo Direct. Usually headed up by the late Satoru Iwata, we would see such things as game announcements, release dates, changes to lineups, or even possible different changes that were coming in the future. So it was something that was different and that became a very enjoyable thing for fans. And this Friday, tomorrow, we will be seeing the first ever franchise-specific Direct. And it's actually got a lot of people really wondering, what's it about? Now, if you're like me and talk with other such fans online, I'm sure you're seeing two things. One, you're seeing a group of people talk about how we're going to finally be seeing the much rumored Pokemon Z, which will be the third main game in the Gen 6 lineup alongside X and Y. The reason people are saying this is because of recent months, we've been getting information about new forms for Zygarde and a bigger emphasis on this Pokemon. However, that isn't the only group of people discussing what tomorrow's Direct might be. No, there's another camp, and that would be the 7th generation camp. Now, why would there be a 7th generation camp? Well, it's because of a little Pokemon called Magearna. Magearna was announced recently and revealed to be a brand new Pokemon. Usually when that happens, that means a new game is on the horizon, especially when we know that this Pokemon does not exist in the coding for the game. A lot of people have hacked through and went through the newer games, and that's how we found a lot of the Mega Forms that were going to be coming in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Well, they never found Magearna on that, and they found Magearna on the ROM information for Sapphire and Ruby. So that leads a lot of people to speculate that we're going to be getting a brand new generation, possibly, because you can't have a Pokemon that can't appear in the game from the same generation. Not usually, though Keldeo would be kind of an example of one that kind of didn't really belong in the other games this generation. But I think that's just a rare case and not something that's indicative of the situation. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, where do I fall? Do I fall into column A or column B? No, to be fair and very honest, I'm kind of falling more towards column B. Now, why would I be doing that? Well, I have my reasons, and I want to discuss that here with you today. Why I think tomorrow's Direct will be announcing the 7th Gen games. So not only will I be discussing why I think we will be seeing the announcement of Generation 7 tomorrow, but what I would like to see in Generation 7 as well. So we're going to kind of mesh that together, and we're going to have a little fun, a little speculation, if you will. And as a Kanto Region certified Pokemon Master and Indigo League Champion, I believe I have all the right to make some speculations. So, shall we begin? Now, obviously Magearna is one of the big reasons I'm thinking this might be Gen 7. We've seen Pokemon appear into the anime or movies prior to the release of the newer games. We saw it with Meryl and the Orange Islands. We saw it with Togepi in the original game, even before we got anywhere near the Orange Islands or Johto. This was during the parts before Ash even got to the Indigo League. So, yeah, there's some precedent here to think, well, they've revealed a new Pokemon, we're probably getting a new game. This has happened before. So, I think it's fair to speculate that Magearna is the first announced Pokemon of a new generation. Now, mind you, that's still something that could be wrong, and it could be just specific to what could be Pokemon Z, but I just highly doubt it, because then it wouldn't be compatible with the other 4 games very likely. Though, even then, that could be patched maybe, but I don't know. That just seems like a big stretch to me. Now, the second reason I think we're going to be seeing the announcement of the 7th generation is, well, it's about time for it, actually. You see, it's usually about 3 or 4 years after the initial main games in a generation that we see the announcement of the next games, or at least the release of the next games. Now, for instance, the original games released in Japan were in 1996, and that was a red and green version, as we said earlier. It wasn't until 1999 that we saw the release of Gold and Silver in Japan. Well, that's 3 years. Just 3 years after that, we saw the release of the 3rd generation games, Ruby and Sapphire, in 2002. Now, it wasn't for another 4 years after that until we saw the release of the 4th generation in 2006 with Diamond and Pearl, and then another 4 years after that for the release of the 5th generation games, Black and White. Moved 3 more years forward, we saw the release of X and Y, the 6th generation games, in 2013. And thus, we have a pattern. On average, it's between 3 and 4 years between named game releases for each generation. Now, sure, you may have your 3rd version games, such as your Yellows and your Crystals and stuff like that, within that time span in between. Or you have your international releases, akin to like us here in the US getting Red and Blue in 98 rather than 96. Stuff happens. But the point is, it was still within a 3-year period that we would see the next game's release. And it has kept up with that pattern throughout the entirety of the series. So I just think that going from that pattern and how they've done their development cycles, especially after the last games, which took a lot longer and a lot more planning, I think they've already been working on the next generation for a little while now, and I think it's finally time for them to unveil it. It just fits the pattern. Reason number 3, the strange souvenir from X and Y. Yes, in X and Y, there are several mysteries that are still unsolved as of right now. Outside of the Ghost Girl, yeah, that one's still very much unsolved, we have the strange souvenir. Now, for those of you that haven't found this, or at the very least haven't played X and Y, and how could you by now, the strange souvenir was an idol or an ornament that depicts a Pokemon that is said to protect a region. Well, it's a region far from Kalos, so it's not Kalos, and it is not in any way representative of any Pokemon from any of the previous generations. So people have been speculating for a while that this was something that hinted towards the next generation of games. Well, it's very much possible. It wouldn't be the first time that Game Freak has actually hinted at upcoming releases in their games. There have been evidence of that in the past. So again, this is something else that leads to the concept of maybe this is going to be happening. And there's one more thing that I think might be leading us towards the 7th generation. And I think that is the Zygarde information. Now I'm sure you're wondering, why would I think that the Zygarde information that's been released over the last few months be leading me to believe that the 7th generation was happening? Well, I have a speculation going on that this might be leading us towards the first 2-region game since Gold and Silver. Yes, back in 1999, the release of Gold and Silver, where it saw not just Johto, but Kanto in the same game, 2 regions, which was a series first, and only, mind you, that we've ever had 2 regions in a game. And I think that not only was a big deal then, but it still will be a big deal now, especially with the way the games are made now in their 3D aspects. And people have been begging for a multi-region game again for years. And this wouldn't be the first time we've had a sequel in the series. Yes, I think Gen 7 will be a sequel game to the 6th gen, kind of leading up to the aftermath of the thing with Lysander and Team Flare. And I think we're going to really see something like that. And the reason I think that is because of us getting new information about Zygarde, plus we have Magearna. And I think this is going to be kind of a bridging of the gaps in the storyline between Kalos and a new region. So I think we'll be seeing a little bit more of Kalos still, plus still be getting this new region, and hopefully be seeing a change with Kalos like we did with Gold and Silver, where we saw a change in Kanto, and like Black and White and Black and White 2, where we saw a change even between those games, as they too were direct sequels. So this wouldn't be the first time we've had sequels within generations, but it'll be the first time in a long time that we've had sequels between and spanning generations. And I think that's something to really consider here. So will Kalos be returning in Gen 7 along with a brand new region? I think it's possible and very likely, though I could still be wrong. I'm willing to admit that it very much might still be just the release of, Pokemon Z coming out. But I prefer to be more hopeful towards the 7th gen. And now that we've gotten my speculations out of the way, let's have a talk about what I would like to see in the 7th generation. Now, one of the things I would really like to see in the 7th gen is more diverse Pokemon. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean speciation. I want to see something more along the lines of Shellos and Basculin, where we have Pokemon that have different versions of themselves. I want to see a West Coast, East Coast kind of differentiation. I want to see a North and South. I want to see something that shows a diversity within the Pokemon world, even within the same species, because I think that's just very fascinating. And it's not something they really play around with much. So I would really like to see something like that, and maybe even a regional difference in Pokemon that already exists. Take Bulbasaur, for example, the Gen 1 starter and number 1 in the National Dex. Everyone knows what a Bulbasaur looks like: dark green skin, a light green bulb. And when it evolves, nice big kind of dark pink flower on the back, and still kind of big and very, very bumpy. So maybe we could see something a little different. I mean, we know in the real world that species change, country to country, region to region, even within the same country. And they have differences, such as maybe different skin colors, or maybe they have different eating habits, maybe they're slightly different sizes. So while Bulbasaur might be dark green with the light green bud, and then when it evolves into a Venusaur, the flower is kind of pink, maybe in a different region such as Sinnoh, you would see something that would be a little bit lighter on the skin tone, and the bulb actually open up into a white flower so it can blend into the more snowy regions or the colder regions. Maybe with this new region we can have something like that, and we have some speciation with existing Pokemon. That's just a thought, and I think would be something really cool, and something for us really weird collectors, because shiny hunting only takes so long. It'd be more fun maybe to collect from different regions to see what variations we can find. But that's just the collector in me. What can I say? I'm weird. Another thing I would really love to see in the 7th gen is a dark gem. We have yet, in 6 generations of games, to see a dark gem. Not once. Sure, we've had a dark type Elite Four member, but there has not been one single dark gem. Okay, we've had a fairy gem already. Fairies, in their first game, got a gem. Generation 2, which introduced dark types, didn't have a dark type gem. But yes, every other typing in the game has had its own dedicated gem, except dark. It just amazes me that in 6 generations there's not been one dark type gem, but we've already had steel types. Hell, they got a gem in the 2nd gen games when they first released. When they first came out, steel had a gem. Dark didn't. Dark has not had a gem once. And it just boggles my mind. You can make it the 3rd gem in the game even, because you can have fighting types and fairy types early on in the game. It's not unheard of. So, I mean, come on, Game Freak. Give us a dark type gem. This generation is the generation to do it. Make it happen. The 3rd thing I'm really hoping to see in the 7th generation games is a bit more in the amount of Pokemon that we see. Now, last generation was the smallest amount of new Pokemon we ever got in the release of a new generation. And I think that helped somewhat in having a lot less filler Pokemon, but it just made the region feel smaller. Now, I know the number of Pokemon has really bloated up over the years. I mean, it's been 20 years, it's going to happen. And we have 721 confirmed Pokemon between all 6 generations, and that includes the recent release of Volcanion. With Magearna, that's 722. So, yeah, we're already going to be reaching that total 1,000 very soon. And while I'm okay with not having, 150 new ones, I think the amount we had in the last game was just not that low. Now, I'm not saying I want to see another 150 brand new Pokemon added in, because that just kind of, expands the risk of having more Love Disc like Pokemon. We don't need more Love Discs. But I think that 72 was kind of a low number, because it just really made the Kalos region feel very small. And it still had an identity, but it just didn't really stand out when you have, to consider that most of the other games had roughly 100 or more Pokemon added in every generation. So I really think keeping that number closer to 100 would be a better idea. So maybe another 90 to just over 100 Pokemon added in 7th Gen would be a great way to expand what we have available to us, to really expand out the fairy line a bit more, and to really allow for really cool variations on dual typing, because there's still dual typing combinations that we haven't seen yet, and something we really damn powerful if done correctly. So I'd really like to see roughly 100 new ones in the 7th Gen, so let's go ahead and do that. A little bit more this time, Game Freak. Just a little bit more, not 72. Up in a bit. Another thing I would really like to see return for the 7th Gen is the Friend Safari. I think that was one of the most ingenious things that X and Y did, was that they added in this brand new little wrinkle in the Safari Zone concept. And while the Safari Zone is a mainstay in the series for a majority of it, I think it was a good idea to kind of get away from that, because, paying to go in and hunt down Pokemon in a certain time span or within so many steps was kind of annoying. And I think the Friend Safari was a very, very interesting way to kind of really make people want to add new friends and to expand the connectivity with the Pokemon games, and kind of leaving that odd wondering, what kind of Friend Safari am I going to get? Is the person going to be a Fire Safari? And if they are, well, what kind of Fire Pokemon am I going to find? What's the big Pokemon that's going to find? And I can make me get some shiny versions of it. In fact, that was the way I really expanded my shiny portfolio, is through the Friend Safari. That was one of the easiest way to get shiny Pokemon. And as a shiny hunter, I love that kind of thing. I love they made it a lot easier. You didn't need to go through all these complicated mechanics to try to get the number down to so much. It was a set amount that was guaranteed to happen, and you were guaranteed to at least get 1 or 2 IVs with every catch you had in a Friend Safari. So I really do want to see that come back, though I would like to see a larger pool of Pokemon per typing in each of the Friend Safari areas. I think there was like maybe usually 6 different Pokemon that you could get potentially with each of the Friend Safaris, maybe 9, and that usually would vary because you always had around 3. Usually you only had 2 available at first with someone you added, unless they'd already beaten the game and got through the league. So yeah, I really want to see more than just 9 possible options, and even then, out of the 9 options, they could have potentially 2 of the same different Pokemon within the different columns. So while you may not see 2 of the same Pokemon in those slots, you would have a better chance of having repeating ones a lot. So I think expanding that would be a good idea. And with there being over 700 Pokemon, you can more than afford to do it. So Friend Safari is returning new and improved. I want that. Another thing I would like to see is an expansion of Pokemon-Ami. I think the concept is interesting. It really does at least give you a reason to use the touchscreen a little more often. And it's one of those things where it's kind of fun to interact with your Pokemon, to build a relationship, because you do kind of care. Once you train up these Pokemon and go through your adventure, and as you go, you want to interact with them and feed them, Poffins, and feeding them, not feeding them, but spending time with them and interacting with them, petting them, calling out, have them imitate you. It was an interesting concept, and it did have in-game benefits, such as Pokemon being able to shake off status effects, or to hit critical hits, or resist a super effective attack, or even be able to survive a one-hit KO move with 1 left over, 1 HP. I mean, there were things that were added in by using Pokemon that had practical benefits. Though I did kind of find it annoying that was the only way to get a Sylveon. But what can you do? It was a new mechanic. So I wouldn't mind seeing that expanded upon a little bit more, having a few more games involved. The puzzle thing was kind of I didn't mind the little, berry matching game. That was fine. It's something more for the kids. And I really kind of enjoyed the little yarn bouncing game. So I would like to see Pokemon-Ami expanded a bit more. Maybe having a few more benefits, maybe making it a slight bit easier to get the affection, because It made Sylveon one of the worst Pokemon to kind of level up and evolve. I really kind of got annoyed with it. Though I like Sylveon, don't get me wrong, it's just one of those things that bugs a little bit in Call of Duty. So please make this a little simpler, a little easier to expand on as far as the affection levels, but add in more to it. Make it a little more substantive. So I'd like to see that. All right. And let's talk about one thing I really do not want to see in the 7th Gen games. No more gimmick Pokemon. Okay? And here's what I mean by that. Furfrou. Furfrou was a gimmick Pokemon exclusively for Kalos. You go get its haircut and its wacky little designs, and it gets certain little boosts. It really has no big effect overall. And you had to recut the hair after so many days because it grew back. It was pointless. It was busy work at best, just to go there, raise a Furfrou, get the haircut you want, spending your money for it. No. Do not do this again, Game Freak. I don't want another Furfrou. I don't want something that I have to go pay in-game money for to modify it for a short time just to like, oh, look what we can do because it matches this aesthetic. Look, I get it. You wanted to kind of go with the French thing a lot more with Kalos, which was fine. And you wanted to go the whole thing with poodles and styling their dogs. I got it. I got the joke. I just didn't think it was funny. I didn't think it was fun. I thought it was really stupid. So let's kind of not involve us with gimmick Pokemon like that, please. That's as bad as I love this. And Furfrou is really not that useful overall. So yeah, do us a favor. Don't do this again, please. And one more thing I think I would like to see changed a little bit and improved on would be the training. When it came to EV training, that became really tiresome for doing it through the actual like thing where you're hitting the bags, throwing the soccer balls at the balloons. I thought that was kind of I think it was an easier way of doing it than having a spreadsheet plastered on your wall so you knew which Pokemon to go fight in which areas they gave which IVs. And I thought that was a good idea and concept to do it the way you did. I think the execution needed a little bit more work. Maybe something a little bit more involved rather than just shoot a soccer ball to target. Maybe something involving dodging for speed. Maybe something involving, blocking moves for defense. Something like that that still involves a touchscreen and gives you a reason to use it, but is at least a little more involved, entertaining, intriguing. Something along those lines. So I wouldn't mind seeing that come back for the 7th Gen, but a little bit better, a little bit more refined. It needs work, but still, I'm okay with this. Thank you for joining me here today in this discussion about tomorrow's Pokemon Direct. It's all speculation at this point. I really don't know what's going to happen. Either way, it's going to be exciting news. So what do you think, though? Do you think we'll be seeing Pokemon Z or the 7th generation announced tomorrow? Leave your answer down below in the comments, and also, what would you like to see in that game that's coming out? Regardless if it's either one of those options, what are you hoping to see in the next game as far as things you'd like to see refined or taken away? You can leave that down below as well. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to hear me talk about this stuff a little more often. And don't forget to come back again because I'm hoping to have some more Pokemon stuff here in the near future. And yeah, let's hope we have some awesome news. And let's get ready to celebrate 20 years. Congratulations, Pokemon. You did it. And here's to another 20. So until next time, my name is Sandros. And as always, please remember, stay awesome. Until next time. Alright guys, a quick amendment to this video. I'd already finished recording this video and then my buddy directed this information at me. Yeah, it looks like there has been a trademark made in Europe. And it's for 2 games. Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. Yeah, it looks like we may be seeing the 7th generation. I don't know how true this is. This is just a trademark, and this is the day before the Pokemon Direct, so it looks like we are going to be getting the 7th generation. So it looks like I might be right, though maybe we'll be seeing Pokemon Z and Sun and Moon coming out. So I don't know. It's still up in the air. So yeah, I just added this on. I have nothing to say. This is just awesome.